They burst into the morning, caricatures of an island in crisis.
We're here to bring them a little hope. We give them a little happiness, a little joy.
A year after Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico, a quiet emergency is still unraveling. This health fair, complete with Disney characters, is all about breaking the silence that comes with it.
We're at the peak of the hurricane season. So if you hear anything about any kind of a storm, it gives you like a flashback. Our job is to let them know that they're not alone.
There is a natural inclination to measure progress in power. But while electricity has been restored for the most part, it remains fragile. And an enduring trauma lies in the emptiness in what was. On the eastern coast, an area razed by the eye of the hurricane, what is still missing so many months later is the gift of normalcy.
Come on.
So this is your home. You have no roof.
Watch your step there.
Where's everything?
That's what I got. I did that myself because I was getting the kitchen a lot of water.
In Aguabo, we meet Angel Luis Sandoyal Mendoza, a man whose story hasn't changed.
If everything blew off with Maria?
Everything blew up.
So this is your kitchen?
Yeah, that's where I cook.
Oh my goodness. What's it like living like this?
It's bad, but I mean, what can I do?
It's been a year of living alone in what's left of his home.
You want to go inside?
Yes.
He rarely sleeps, afraid of burglars.
What does it do to your state of mind, like to how you're feeling?
I don't know. I try not. Try not to think about it. You're trying to forget.
Angel is one of the hundreds in this area alone, still waiting for government aid from FEMA, the U.S. agency in charge of the recovery effort. FEMA won't provide money without the deed to the house, but the home has belonged to his family for generations. There's no way for him to get it.
I've been able to reevaluate a lot of things, and this morning we contacted FEMA to see if they can reevaluate.
Yeah.
Jerry Kirkland is in charge of emergency services in Aguabo. He's trying to help Angel navigate what often feels like an inhumane bureaucracy.
Any hour, any time of day, you can give me a call and I'll be right here. Okay?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
Don't worry, you're not alone. We'll be here.
Yeah, all right.
It doesn't make sense, you know. At this type of time, after almost a year, we still have people living in these conditions, you know. And it's not easy for us as emergency managers, as a municipality agency, because we don't have the funding that we can say we can come and fix it, because we don't. It's frustrating to see our people suffer at this time, at this stage. Yeah, we're gonna be going here.
Jerry can only do so much.
So where are we heading?
Okay, we're going to a barrio called Cubuy.
His municipal budget was drained soon after Maria hit.
It's a section of Rio Blanco. Ese Badén. Está bien, no se preocupe que tú conoces a Axel. Yo voy a estar coordinando con Axel para que Axel.
Now he offers what he can. Mostly, it's reassurances, especially at this time of the year.
Okay. Okay. People are starting just to get back to normal, you know, and they're just getting back on their feet. So if another hurricane comes, what's going to happen? And how are we going to deal with it? Right now, my concerns are the mental health of the people. How are they going to take it? You know,
we drive higher and higher into the mountains.
I'm going to show you the road that was very badly damaged.
And stop where a landslide dropped massive boulders.
Where there was no way that they can pass by. There was no...
This road was blocked for 3 months. Help couldn't get through.
This whole landslide, they were bigger than that. Those boulders were bigger than that. That's still a problem. One of our concerns when the boulders came down was that house.
This one right here?
Yeah,
You're going to knock on that door?
We could. I don't know if anybody's there, but ¿Cómo estás? Yeah, I speak English. We just stopping by just to let you guys know we put another plan in place. We learned a lot from Marie. And one of my main concerns was the landslide that here. Yeah, we know that there's still boulders. So we just wanted to come by to make sure show you guys that we're going to be here.
Okay. Rex Caldwell and his wife moved to Puerto Rico 15 years ago. They sought refuge in their bathroom when Hurricane Maria hit.
I got my back against the door to keep it shut, and it keeps blowing it open. I press it back again, all right? The water that's in the toilet, all right, there was high pressure under the house. It was pushing the water in the toilet up like a fountain.
What toll did it take on you?
None.
How long before you got your electricity back?
Oh, 9 months. 9 months, right? So we were.
How do you feel about that?
Well, you don't feel anything. You just survive. Alrighty.
All right. Thank you.
See you guys.
So what did you make of that visit?
Well, like when he started to describe how he passed the hurricane night, you see how he was in the bathroom holding against the wall. But then he says, no, everything's fine. You know, that's what we're worried about.
So
it
you
takes
didn't
us.
buy it that he was
Oh,
fine?
no, of course not.
That pride makes it hard to grasp the extent of the need. But there are alarming clues.
This is part of the old hospital, and we
Renovating?
Dr. John Velasquez is the medical director of the only hospital in Naguabo. For weeks after the hurricane, it was the only one open in the entire eastern region. It became a beacon for another cry for help that continues.
We decided to build a new unit for that kind of people that came without physical condition, only mental condition.
What kind of mental conditions?
Depression, suicide.
The need was catastrophic then, he says, and still is now. People still come here every day.
They feel like they don't want to live more because they don't have nothing right now. And they feel sad because the house is going down. They can't build again. They say, doctor, I don't want to live like this.
A mental health emergency was looming before blue tarps became metaphors of Hurricane Maria. Puerto Rico has been in a recession for a decade. Jobs are scarce and migration continues to tear families apart. What the hurricane robbed too was the simple reassurance of routine, of knowing what tomorrow may bring, including power. Blackouts still happen all the time. In the next town over, in Yabacoa, a U.S. military medical mission winds down. It also offered mental health support.
We know that many more people will come out with some symptoms and other conditions, mental health conditions. Saludo, buenos días.
A psychiatrist by training and a native Puerto Rican, Colonel Victor Toraño believes the worst is yet to come because many are still processing the trauma.
Look at this.
These anonymous questionnaires, he says, reveal a lot.
Lost my job, lost my home, lost my car, clothing. Do you have any emotional conditions? No. I feel like I want to disappear.
Wow.
But I have been able to maintain control. So again, you know...
Wanting to disappear, that's pretty severe.
Absolutely. You know, in their minds, they normalize how they feel. They think, you know, that since everyone's feeling the same as they are, they do not need to seek help.
It's not easy. I cry at night. I cry in the bathroom. I hardly cry in front of anybody because I have to be strong.
You see that black spot there? Water comes down, it filters down through there.
Rain poured into Taina Fernandez's house after Hurricane Maria. She lost her job and money is tight, so the roof still leaks. Her mom suffers anxiety attacks, and her children still cry at the sound of rain. Home is hard, so is helping others.
I wanted to become something useful and beneficiary to the community.
Taina is fighting to get an old school turned into a community center to help people still suffering, including those who couldn't get their loved ones to hospitals or even to a morgue.
People were buried in their backyards. An old lady buried her husband in the back of her home because there was no way to get out of her home. And he had died, he had been dead for 3 days, and she had to bury him in the back of her home. When you hear these stories and you hear what people are going through, it weighs a toll on you. I just get, because it's hard. It's hard. You try to help people, but you're going through no job. You have so many things on top of you, but you still want to help.
Who's helping you?
Who's helping me? My family who holds me up. We don't have everything we need, but at least we have what we need right now in the moment. Next week, I'll worry about next week.
Tests of faith, they're everywhere you look. Not far away, a youth group gathers outside. Hurricane Maria destroyed their church. There's no money to fix it. And so they sing, Under a Night Sky.
And Joanna joins us now in our studio. People there clearly suffering, and there is kind of a grim measure of how deep that suffering is.
Absolutely, and the big indicator is a place called Linea Paz, which is the main suicide hotline that services the entire island of Puerto Rico. Shortly after Hurricane Maria, they were receiving 800 calls a day, and the suicide rate spiked by 30% for that time of year compared to the year before. Today, they're still receiving 600 calls a day, and the suicide rate is at 20% higher than it was the year before. And the majority of those calls are prompted by people who are still having a lot of trouble rebuilding, reconstructing their lives, because many people have lost their jobs and they just simply can't get back on their feet. And that's prompted an extraordinary outreach program, because we heard about that Puerto Rican pride in our piece, about people feeling too proud to ask for help. So because of that, and they don't want to see a repeat of last year, and anniversary tends to be a huge trigger, they're going out and doing outreach. They're literally, the goal is to go door to door at every house in Puerto Rico to check in on people, see how they're doing. And the thinking is maybe at home they're more likely to feel comfortable and admit that they could use some help.
Let's talk about the death toll for a moment. Obviously, there's been a lot of debate in the United States about that number. How has it been playing, particularly the revised death toll in Puerto Rico?
That number that's recently come out is a number that everybody suspected. And that was the case last year when we were there, and this year even more so, since now there's these 2 independent studies that put that death toll to 3,000 and even higher in some cases. And the issue has always been that the death toll that the Puerto Rican government has put out is very directly related to that day, i.e. a truck went off the road and somebody died. But the bigger issue, and the one that's a really heated one, especially with Trump's comments, is about the fact that the recovery rate was slow. And that was why people couldn't get to hospital to get to dialysis treatment, for example, or roads were washed out for weeks. And that's at the core of the issue now and remains a very heated debate.
Okay. Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you.